Better Business Results. My name is John Whitt, and I'm your host. We work with business owners, executives, entrepreneurs, and sales teams to improve their businesses in 30 minutes or less. I'm a small business owner, a published author, and a recognized leader with Focal Point International Business Coaching, where we have over 180 coaches on all 7 continents. Albert Einstein is quoted as saying that compound interest is the most powerful formula in the universe. Improving your business 0.1% each day can generate as much as a 24% improvement in less than 1 year. You can engage and harness this formula for your business by creating 3 action items in just 30 minutes each week. Let's get started. All right, today our guest is Brandon Overstreet, recently formed I-40 Group.
That's right.
All right,
hey, John.
So, hi Brandon, how are you? Brandon and I have known each other for several years now, done a bunch of different things together. Tell us a little bit about the I-40 Group story. This is new.
Yeah, it's brand new. Well, I grew up on I-40 in Amarillo, Texas, right there smack dab of I-40. And so there's an affinity for, that whole journey that people have always taken back and forth, that I've taken back and forth from one side of the country to the other. But when thinking about branding, marketing for small to mid-sized companies, I started thinking through like how many times companies skip steps. When you go in there and you do a brand audit, you find out how in the world did you get this branding, knowing what you're selling, knowing what you're saying you're selling, and then what your brand is communicating. It's like obviously someone skipped steps. And so the formation of the I-40 Group was really just to think through when it comes to brand strategy, to branding, to marketing, not just starting correctly, but finding the right partners to take you along that journey to where you're going. So if it's I-40, it's Barstow to Wilmington, North Carolina, making sure that you get where you're going, but you're not skipping steps. And so what's unique about I-40 is each one of those cities actually has a pretty cool history behind it, whether it be the 72-ounce steak in Amarillo, Texas, whether it be Michael Jordan's hometown of Wilmington, North Carolina, or the Grand Canyon right there in Williams. So I think that when I think of I-40, I think about a journey that takes a small business from beginning to end with their brand and their marketing, but also having some fun times along the way, working with really smart people to get them where they're going. So it should be a journey for them, but done right, if that makes sense.
Yeah, almost describes like a system and a process.
Exactly.
So you have a system and a process. You have to get on the highway, and you have to get.
Yes.
There's no. I mean, you can jump off and visit some things occasionally, but if you're going to get from point A to point B, you have to go that way. You have to go through those things. You have to go, and you're basically saying, listen, that's what we're going to be doing.
Yes.
From a branding and marketing standpoint.
Sure.
Okay, so great. So tell me a little bit about, who do you think can benefit the most from your type of services?
Yeah, great question. I think most, it kind of goes back to how this whole thing happened. And when I talk to small business owners, invariably they always say, I do this, but then you look at their marketing and branding and it communicates something different. And it's a very common theme I've seen, and it happens a lot with websites, is my web guy stinks, or I can't seem to get enough leads, or I don't know what's happened with my website. And so that entry point of me asking the questions, well, who's doing that and why did you do that? And you start figuring out that there really was no plan. And so I think a lot of times small business owners with good intent, hard work, with good capital, that are very smart, they find themselves having down the road where they look back and say, I don't even know why that's up there. I have no clue why I did that. And so I saw it so much, I said, anybody who would say that, and some businesses do it great. They had some thought leadership up front.
They figured it out.
They figured it out some way. But most of them, I find incongruencies, and so maybe they wouldn't even see those up front. But most small businesses, there's incongruencies with the brand.
They start out saying, listen, I got to have a website, and they go do it, and they haven't put any thought into it, right? Now I got to do social media, or they do some print media, but there's no connection, no activity there. And so, several years back down the road, you look back and you go like, wow, this doesn't make sense. This didn't connect. This didn't get you from point A to point B.
I would even say that a lot of them say, I need to start a business, I need some branding, I need a logo. And they think their logo is their brand. And they've just completely skipped the first step, which is Barstow, which is, no, I need a brand strategy. I need a plan, a map, a roadmap that says, when I communicate, how do people feel about what I'm saying and what they're seeing in my branding? That's their brand. That heart in their chest, that vibe you get from looking at someone's marketing, that's their brand. But they just don't They've never learned that. I don't know why.
Well, their expertise is in something else, and it's not necessarily branding or marketing. So then, this is the small business owner, ideal service provider or client for you, the types of challenges and problems that they have, and then how do you solve those? You described some of the branding incongruency type issues. Those are some of the problems. Are there any other challenges that they experience, and then what? How do you solve those things?
Yeah, I think when there's no plan, there's a little bit of money to use for branding and marketing. Invariably, you get the wrong partners. You kind of take the last person who called you and said, "Okay, I'll give you a shot." And so I found that they waste a lot of money on the wrong partners and the wrong branding. So that's
bad marketing.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is we solve that problem. Is real quickly we can audit to figure out, are you working with the right partners? And maybe they are, and that's great. But it's good to know and be educated. Is this working, and is this the right partner I want to move forward?
Confirmation. A lot of comfort in having some confirmation.
So I think the first thing we offer is that clarity of that, uncovering the essence behind their brand. The other thing is putting together a strategy on where they need to go, what things need to change, and then make sure they're with the right partners, that they're not wasting money on stuff that's never going to work. And if it worked, maybe it's collecting the wrong customers they don't like to work with. And so I find that a lot is we keep working with these people that just, they're not good customers. I'm like, well, you're kind of attracting them with what you have there. So it's really shoring up a lot of that, and educating them is probably the biggest value we offer.
So how does brand equity, which is kind of what you're talking about in some ways, how does that translate to results for the small business owner?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I always like to tell people you have a good problem and you have a bad problem, and that's sales. You have sales. So that's a good problem and it's a bad problem. And who would say, well, how is sales a bad problem? Well, for one, it's inconsistent. Your sales.
A lot of people are on the cash flow roller coaster.
It's a roller coaster. So it's good months and bad months, good months and bad months. The other one is you've said the wrong, so it's not sustainable. The other one is you've sold to clients that are dragging you through their process and versus yours. And so I think brand equity, what that achieves is, what happens when sales are low is your brand continue to attract the right clients, so that you're continue to drive leads that backfill when your prospecting efforts are low. Your brand should be continue to educate and drive leads to your business, and a lot of them they're not.
Yeah, and so driving awareness to the right target, and then creating consistent revenue streams because our brand equity is in the right position in the right place.
Exactly. What that ultimately means for a small business owner is they can breathe.
Well, they're saving money because they're not spending money on things that aren't working.
And they feel proud. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've walked through our brand strategy session and people get teary-eyed and they kind of get choked up because there was a way they wanted to go in the beginning that was very authentic, and somewhere, I like to say, because of sales, they got enough money, they go, wow, this is working.
Well, I sales may be it. I mean, but just the business, right?
Yeah.
They get wrapped up onto this treadmill and they start going all over the place, and pretty soon they're really busy, they're really active, and then they get what they get, but they don't really know how they got there.
Exactly.
Because the life, day-to-day business life happened to them, and they didn't put any planning and structure into it. So they kind of get what they got.
Yeah, and I always tell people, well, they're like, well, I really don't have a brand. And I'm saying, no, you do.
Everybody does.
You do.
Yeah.
Whether you know it or like it, you're communicating something very, very deep to your consumer. And I think that's why companies like 99 Designs and these branding companies are just such a bad service, because they really don't get into the heartbeat of the customer to understand what's going to happen in the future with their brand. But I think business owners are so heartsy and so willing. They like, okay, I'll do it.
Well, there's different levels of quality with every company, and you're offering a real special.
But they look back and they say, wow, if I'd have only known what I know now, I would have never done that. And I'm sure you see that in your business coaching, where
oh my gosh,
you look back and say, well, how do you teach people that before they go too far down I-40, right? To look back and go, wow, I skipped Havasu. I missed the lake,
Well, we teach people that because we want to have those conversations early, right? So that they don't miss the lake, right? But they got to have the conversation with the right type of resource, the right type of place. And so with I-40, then you've also got, a group of partners that will, extend this brand out in a variety of different ways, a variety of different manners to do that. So talk to me about your, a client where you've had some really big success.
The first client that I tell people about is it's a very boutique specialty candy store located here in Orange County. And when we got together first, they communicated that they had they say things like "make it rain, make it rain," and you hear this a lot by small business owners, like just make it rain,
bring in the money,
bring in the money. And I said, and so as I started going through of the audit, and I started going through the strategy, I realized that they didn't have a brand problem. I mean, they didn't have a rain problem. They had a bucket problem. And when I talk about the bucket, I talk about your brand. And come to find out, they had almost 80 to 100,000 transactions at the counter every year. So they had a lot of rain. The challenge was people in Orange County don't buy a lot of candy on a consistent basis. So we really had to reposition the brand to make it more of an experience, something they would want to participate. The consumer would want to participate in every week with their spouse or their kids, or every month, and make it more of a party versus a transaction. And so we were able to look at their revenue coming in. We were able to stabilize that, and we were able to grow their email marketing. I don't even know the number, but from like 100 active emails to almost 5,000 active emails within about 3 months, which is unheard of. But we really got in there and got down on the grassroots and got our hands dirty in helping train and teach even their sales team on how to capture leads.
Yes. What do you think that the results were from a financial standpoint? How did that impact? How did this work impact their financials?
I think just on the revenue side, they had about a 30% bump. It stabilized out to where they could cash flow, and they really
off the roller coaster.
Off the roller coaster, they said you've sustained our business, and what's even good for us is they didn't need us anymore. They didn't need us to keep coming in there and paying us on a monthly basis. It was really, we gave them the tools to sustain their business, and for us, that's perfectly fine.
So what do you think? Take that client that you just worked with in that particular instance. What do you think the deepest benefit they received was?
Oh, it's just like me. I just took a big, deep breath.
Oh, yes.
I realized that some of the things they said is, well, I'm going to go back to college. I've been wanting to get a degree, and now I don't feel like I'm a slave to my business.
Yeah. So how do they feel, you think?
They feel great. I mean, they feel safe. They feel like their team is trained. They feel like their managers were trained. They feel like they didn't have to be as hands-on in the business. And I know I may even save their marriage for all I know. I mean, because it's a husband and wife thing. So they were stressed out.
Well, I can tell you, money, running a business, a family, whether it's partners or a husband and wife, spouses. I mean, boy, there's just a tremendous degree of stress. And when you provide a system and a model and a process that removes that stress, then this deep sigh, this feeling of comfort, happiness, joy, all kinds of different things really start to happen. And at the end of the day, that's what life's really all about, right? I mean, we all need to make money. We need to make a living. We need to pay the bills and all that kind of stuff. Put our kids through college, but day to day, being happy, living with less stress, living longer because of less stress. That all just makes total sense. Yeah. Well, that is exciting. I'm really excited about I-40. So it's a new venture, right? And so, what are some of the challenges that you're experiencing?
Yeah, I think the first challenge for us is to make sure we do have the right partners, and that's key, because it's important for me that every partner in our mix is committed to the same thing, and it's hard to find that. And part of those commitments have to do with not overcharging clients, making sure that you're really caring about their business and you want to see them succeed. You want to see them take that deep breath. You want them to achieve their goals. A lot of partners a lot of marketing and branding firms, they just want to get you into a retainer. They want to get you into their product, whatever. And so I want to find the partners that care, and that's important. And finding those up early is very important. The other thing I would just say when it comes to smaller businesses, I feel like executing on the deliverables that I needed to execute on, while also going out and prospecting and finding small companies that need our services, there's a time constraint there. So that's
time
is
there's never enough time.
time
in a startup operation. And then I think we said something about awareness in our earlier discussion.
Yeah.
Because people need to figure out. I mean, I-40 is new. They don't know I-40 exists.
Yeah, it's the same problem that my clients would have. It's like, I don't have enough brand equity. So it's kind of the cobbler's kids have no shoes, right? And so I think there's an element of that. But I think that's a short-term problem. We have a lot of relationships in the market. It's just getting back out in front of the clients and understanding where we can fit back in.
Okay. And then developing your actual packages that you're actually going to put together for clients. And I know that you have the ability to do just about anything, or maybe even everything. But that's really not the right approach. We need to focus, right? We can't do everything. We can do anything. We have to figure out what that is. And I know you're going to tell us, before we get finished today, you'll tell us a little bit about a package that you're working on for the small business owner to really start to experience what this thing's really all about.
No, it's a great point. I think the reason why that's important right now to define that is because people maybe aren't educated about how big companies typically go to market and how they position brands. Things like Just Do It, big brands, they didn't just show up. So a lot of companies think that their logo is their brand. They think that their tagline is, things like that are just things you can think of in the shower, and I've got my brand. But I think it's educating customers enough that they're willing to invest, and I think it's to have a package that makes it a no-brainer for a small company to take a pause, take a step back, and look at their brand. And I want to put together a package that they see that and say, I'm willing to do that, because I agree that, because people don't buy what you sell, they buy what you believe. And I really need to get that out to them and make a package that says, look, take the risk of taking a step back on your brand and reinvest in these things that aren't really giving you brand equity.
Yeah, because it's not like you can't take a new stab at it, right? You could always go back. Maybe it's a little reinventing, but you can do that kind of thing. So speaking of reinventing, we're gonna go, as a small business owner, I want to share the Sygmoid Curve with you, and this is sort of the life cycle of a business, but it's a life cycle of many things, right? So we call it the Sygmoid Curve, and it's cycles and phases. All right, and so what you see here on the screen is there's 3 different sections. So there's really 3 different phases to the Sygmoid Curve. And then the curve, obviously, is that curvy line that's in there. Now, that first phase is called the learning phase. The learning phase is sort of where you're at right now. You're deciding, who are your partners going to be, and what is the package I'm going to have, and who's my market, and how do I become aware, right? Well, there's a lot of learning and growth, and not nearly as much revenue that happens in that particular phase. That's typically what happens. And you have to make a big investment of time and energy, and sometimes money. And you'll notice that the shape of the business is declining at that point. That's that investment part, right? Yeah. And what happens is we then, after we've done that, we go move into this thing called the growth phase. Now, this is the fun phase, right? This is the part where we're moving this business and growing it. And then the last phase then is the decline phase, because everything declines. So this is the kind of the phases of life, the phases of business, the phases of whatever. Now, there's a few different areas in each one of these stages that we need to be aware of, right? So the first one is what we call the honeymoon phase. The honeymoon phase is at the very beginning of the learning phase, and this is sort of the way I describe this is, you got a new idea, you got a new product, new services, and you reach out to your friends, and you reach out to your neighbors, right? And they decide to buy it, right? And so you generate some revenue, you generate some cash, and the key here is to take that and store it away to handle this downturn that's happening, right? Because eventually, you've sold to your friends and you've sold to your family, and you have to start building a business, and you have to sell it to the marketplace.
Got it.
Right? And so we need that cash to be able to run through the next learning phase so that we can get to the next place. The next one is 3 feet from gold, and this is one where we see business owner after business owner after business owner give up and switch and try a new idea and switch and try a new idea. And what happens is they never figure it out. They never get there, and they might be very, very close, right? If you've got a good idea and a good product and a good service, and you've tested it and you've got feedback that you like, it's really all about spending the time and energy and figuring out how to get it done, right? And if you quit and you try starting something else, you're right back in that learning phase again, and you never get there. But once you get through that 3 feet from gold, once you break through that thing and you start generating some revenue, consistent revenue, right? Now we've got a little line up, right? We've got money coming in. This is where we see a lot of small business owners. They're in this thing called the founder's trap. The founder's trap is that place where, you're time constrained. You don't have enough time to do anything. You hire a couple of people, but you only have enough time to manage 3 or 4 or 5 people, or whatever that particular staff is. And you're stuck, right? You can't even take on any more clients. You cannot take any more business because you don't have time to service that. And what you have to do here is you have to learn how to scale. And when you learn how to scale, then you are building systems and processes that allow you to, add people, add resources. Technology plays a really big role in here. Training models, policies, standards, procedures all play really big roles in moving out of the founder's trap and then up the growth phase, right? So now once we start growing, we're doing really, really well. We're making some money. We just have to be aware of the Midas trap, right? The Midas trap, everything you touch turns to gold. Well, yeah, still got to pay attention to the marketplace. You're still going to have to look around. You're going to have to see things so you don't get surprised. My least favorite story of this is BlackBerry phones, right? They were on top of the world just 5 years ago, and now they have I don't even know, such a tiny market share. It's amazing.
Yes.
They just got smacked, and they never saw it coming, and they've paid the price. All right, so then we have the decline phase, and the key to the decline phase we got to make sure of is that we're not in denial. So with BlackBerry, the BlackBerry story, right? They saw Apple and Samsung and all these others starting to make inroads into their business, but they didn't do anything about it, right? They were in denial. Like, it's no big deal, because the drop off in their business didn't happen instantaneously.
Sure.
It happened with slowly decreases in sales, and so they weren't able to figure out. They didn't get out of the denial trap. I think they're out of the denial trap now. They recognize it, but
they might be out of business. I don't know.
Well, they're still there, but they've paid a really, really steep price. So the thing is, once we see this start happening, right, we have to say, look, this is actually the opportunity phase. This is when we want to reinvent. This is an opportunity to get where we want to go and get to the next particular stage, right? So in your particular case, you're strongly in that learning phase, right? I mean, that's where you're at. And so let's talk a little bit about where you're at on this business curve. We kind of talked about that already because you're at that learning stage. But let's talk a little bit about what are the things that you need to do, or that you can do, to accelerate and get out of that learning phase as quickly as possible, because those curves, the width, the height, and everything else, they're all shiftable, right? So think about, for you, what are the kinds of things that would allow you to, what are the things that you have to do first for your business, and how do we get out of that learning phase faster?
You're the expert, John. Well, I think for me, it is that awareness step. Where do I spend my time on a daily basis is probably the biggest thing for me. Is to stay out of bad conversations, to stay out of the wrong opportunities, to really carve out the right amount of time per week to do the basics of prospecting, the basics of attracting the right partners. I mean, those are the big two things for me: is partners and prospecting. Okay. It's getting in front of the right people on both the partner side, but also the right opportunity side.
Okay, so let's talk about the prospecting side, right? So we talked about small business owners, right? And you've got this package. Why don't we tell us a little bit about the package that you're introducing, the selling your brand package that we talked about earlier.
Okay.
And then we could take that and say, look, how do we apply this to the market? Who do we really want to go talk to so that we can make sure we have better conversations?
Yeah. So I think the package you're referring to would be a part of the journey is a sales, ultimately a sales conversion, a sales training class called Selling Your Brand. That it consists of some brand leadership, some assessment of maybe not just the brand of the business, but maybe the brand of the actual employees, the brand of the sales folks. So there's that, and then also some basic sales coaching and sales training around how to do that, making sure that you're converting the sales that you do get. And so I think that's an attractive package early, because everyone's looking to increase their revenue, and we can draw a straight line to ROI on that training. So the part of the package is you would get some brand assessment, a brand audit of your current branding,
analysis of existing
to
material,
see if there's any congruencies. You would get a sales skills index to understand, like, where are my, because everyone, what sells, what business owner went into business says, I'd love to sell, but yet they're all selling. And so to make sure that they understand that they're doing that and maximizing their time and their profits around selling, and also that they're salespeople, if they have salespeople, that they're also communicating the same message. So it's a real attractive package. It also comes with a video that has a quick little blurb that they could use for the website that we capture, because sometimes people don't know how to describe their business, and so you get them into a very comfortable, very kind of just impromptu discussion, and they can and all of a sudden it starts coming out. So we do a little video where we try to capture that and put that together. They can use for their website, and also it's a 2-day class. So again, you're getting some brand leadership, and you're also getting some sales skills, and you're getting some cool takeaways.
So you've got an audit of the existing system. You've got an assessment of who they are, what they are, and then maybe even some strategy that they can gain out of this workshop that would allow them to figure out where they want to position themselves a little bit forward. You've got a little bit of training on how to distribute that message and how to communicate that message and how to present that message to the client. Clearly, the better that we do that, the more likely it is that we convert them into an actual client.
Sure.
And then you got some video that they can use on the website, and they can use for social media or any number of different ways.
Yeah, and when we've done this in the past, we found that customers were open at the time because once the scales kind of come off and they say, "Whoa, well, if this is true, then that probably needs to change." You're like, "Yeah," because you're wearing a brand new suit, but then your shoes are old and dirty. So people don't like that incongruency once they see it.
Mm-hmm.
They just sometimes it takes them seeing it. But that seminar it offers a lot of value for our clients, but ultimately it means some clients for us because they see like, wow, we'd love to work with you on other things. Mm-hmm. So it's a win-win seminar.
So thinking about that, if that's the package and that's a package that you're putting together, how do you make the small business community, your target market, aware that this package is available?
Well, that's the $1 million question. Well, I think it's delivering that to our partnership, all of our different partners we're working with, making sure they're aware of it for one. Like you talked about,
extending it through the partners.
Yeah, the friends and family thing you talked about. I mean, there's always that. I think just having it ready when people ask for it is the first step there. But also just maybe joining some business networking groups or booking some speaking engagements where we come in for free and share about what we're doing or whatever.
You build your own web presence. I know you haven't had a chance to do that yet because you're there. Building your own social media presence. Mm-hmm. Those are all distribution points for this package and making them more aware of that particular item. So thinking about that's one way that you could finalize the package, right? And then we could figure out how do we want to distribute this out to the marketplace, and initially geography for the marketplace is relatively close by, or
we'll travel, but ideally there's enough small businesses here in Orange County, San Diego, LA that
focus on Southern California.
Yeah, you could be busy forever just helping people sustain their growth.
But you have the ability to expand beyond that geographic boundary. Okay.
Yeah, we have a client right now we're looking at in Dallas that's every time they sell something they convert. I mean, literally it's a high conversion rate. The challenge is that they just don't know their web presence, their marketing plan. They haven't backfilled that, and it's actually a good thing because they haven't gone too far down the road.
Right.
But the product is amazing, so it's now just about building that brand and branding and the marketing plan to make sure everything else is amazing to go with that product. So but again, those things can be done over the phone, through Skype. We can get out there. It's just those are the kind of
there's some opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So the other thing in this learning phase, I mean, you've mentioned finding your partners, right? What do you have to do to find the partners? What are you looking for?
I probably have about half of them already identified.
Well, give me an example of a partner.
We have a phenomenal video team phenomenal storytelling, phenomenal production, in-house production. We have a phenomenal inbound marketing team that does phenomenal websites, phenomenal HubSpot partner, really understands content marketing. A lot of that stuff, that's probably 80% of the heavy lifting right there is a good brand strategy, a great content marketing plan, a great web team that understands how to build your site, that it's SEO friendly, and then also the videos to make sure you're pumping content out because people love video. So I feel like I've got probably 80% of the most important partners.
What are you still looking for?
I think that some businesses, as they grow, they might want to accelerate through paid advertising, like Google ads, LinkedIn ads, Facebook ads. A lot of that stuff is high volume. Customers don't have the money to put down on that initially, but they want that kind of rain, they want that kind of traffic. But I really hold off on that with my clients until they can prove that they can attract and convert the right people consistently, right? But then when that's done, I think that it only makes sense to then put more money on the table and accelerate your business. But I think that a lot of times that kind of world finds itself attracting people that are they have less integrity, that world. So it's just finding the right.
I think that world exists everywhere.
I understand, but for some reason in that world, because it is such a skill, that people typically grind down small business owners to get in that game.
Right.
And so it's finding the right partners that can play fair.
Well, they need a trusted resource in this activity as well as they do in many, many other. You need a legal guy, you need a CPA, you need all these people to help you because you can't get there by yourself.
I could grab a rock and throw it down the street in Orange County and I would hit, 100 marketers that have a cool tool that is going to get you found on Google and all that stuff. And truthfully, a lot of that stuff is just
dicey.
It's totally dicey, and they get you on a monthly retainer and you get locked in a contract. I think there are some great tools out there like HubSpot, like Infusionsoft. I mean, there's some great CRM tools. There's some great marketing automation tools. We know what the best tools are, but you'd be surprised at how many people call me, hey, I got a phone call. It's like, again, I want to find the right partners that do have those tools, but it's going to take, again, I know which ones they are, and I know which ones I want to go after. It's just picking up the phone, calling them, and find out how to work with them as an affiliate.
All right, so your top 3 action items are, think back of what we've covered today, and what are your top 3 action items?
Build a package.
Build a package.
Make sure once I build a package to make sure I'm getting it out there in the medians that I can control, the social platforms, family, friends, my partners. And the third one I think is just, getting the right partners and lock those things down so that we can begin to take on our clients.
Driving into the next partnership and filling out the IB40, not IB, the I40, the I40 group as a team.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited to hear more about the Selling Your Brand package because I think that's going to be really pretty slick. How would, and I know you're getting started, but how would people, if they were interested in talking to you or having a conversation about what you're putting together, how should they reach out and contact you?
Yeah, so we have a sellingyourbrand.com website where you can sign up. We're putting together the next class here in August, maybe early September. We have some great pricing. We think it's going to be about a 2-day class. It used to be a 1-day, but we try to fit too much in there.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a 2-day. First one about the brand, the second one about more sales skills.
Sort of
analysis.
a day 1 and a day 2.
Yeah, so I think, but obviously they can reach out and sign up through Selling Your Brand, and we have an Eventbrite calendar set up there we can use.
Okay.
And then, or they can call us and 858-776-5020.
Well, that is one way they could call you. They could just say, "Hey, your number's open."
Yeah.
There's a bunch of ads on the radio now where the car sales guys are giving their cell
Exactly.
phone number, so that's available. But so Selling Your Brand, www.sellingyourbrand.com is a way to reach out and connect, and they can send an email through that or
In our
register for a class.
in our first class is going to be strictly for business owners. Because it's very important. Even though we do sales teams, it's the first one is just for business owners that they really want to take a peek under the hood at their brand. And
what's about branding?
Yeah.
So okay, Brandon, really appreciate your time today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
Have a great week.
Thank you.
If you'd like to be a guest on our show, contact BusinessWhitt at www.businesswhitt.com. Filmed in studio at John Witt Enterprises, Advanced Coaching and Marketing Solutions, 2 Park Plaza, number 450, Irvine, California, 92614.